Hello, everyone on YouTube, LinkedIn, and Facebook. Welcome to another episode of Lab to Market, where we talk about all the business trends in AI and technology. Joining me, as usual, is Fuad Mia, founder and general AI enthusiast of UC Lab. We have a special guest joining us today. It's Dr. Pouria Ghods of Giatec Scientific. Now, you may not be aware of how close you are to Giatec, but Giatec is actually under your tires, under your feet. They're all around you, helping us have a safer world. And I'll let Dr. Ghods kind of explain that a little more. Dr. Ghods is a Ottawa native. He went to Carleton University for civil engineering. He has a Ph.D. And he also attended NSCRC postdoctoral fellowship in materials engineering at the University of British Columbia. We are humbled to have you here, Dr. Ghods.
Thanks for Justin for having me. And good morning, right? So just start. Very nice being part of this podcast series, especially on the AI topic, right? So that's the area that we are working. Yeah, nice to be here.
Perfect. So let's dive right in. How did you get the idea behind your product? And I guess I did a poor job of explaining it. I was very vague. What is it that Giatec does, and how did you get the idea to create it?
Yeah. Let me step back just a little bit, right? So, like when we started the company and what we are offering at the moment, just give a little bit the context to audience, right? So we are working on technologies, right? So I mean, combination of different technology, IoT, AI, mobile app, right? So internet connectivity technologies, right? So to to impact the construction industry as a whole, right? So to improve the practice of people, working in construction industry, and more specifically in concrete industry, right? So there are some technologies like such as mobile app sensor, wireless sensor we built over the years, and that's the area that we are focusing at Giatec at the moment, right? That's the kind of the context, what we do at Giatec. And what we have been doing actually over the past 12 years, almost 12 years. But going back at 2010, right? So 2010, I finished my PhD, right, at Carleton University. Then I got the postdoc, NSERC postdoc, right? So it was doing a postdoctoralship at UBC. And at that time, my business partner, Dr. Alizadeh, he graduated from Ottawa U, right? At the pretty much same time, right? 2000, end of 2009, 2010. So we had a discussion, right, at some point that, what we're going to do next, right? So
We've done
right.
all this school. What now?
Yeah, now, right? So yeah, we spent actually like 12 years almost, right, at the school, right, postgraduate school, right, so after high school, right, undergrad 4 or 5 years, 2 years master, 5, 6, 7 years, post PhD. And then yeah, there was a moment that we were sitting in the bridgehead, right, so downtown bridgehead Vivart Market, right, that out of a kind of coffee shop. Yeah, we thought, yeah, let's see whether we can give it a shot, right? So to try based on the knowledge, like scientific advantage, all those things that we've worked over the past 10, 12 years, right, at university in the lab, right, scientific skill, whether we can basically make them commercial product, right, transfer those science, right, to the industry, and kind of bridging the gap that exists between the practice, construction industry practice or civil engineering practice, compared to what's happening in the field, right? So the idea just came right after PhD, right? So let's give it a chance to see whether we can basically transfer all those scientific knowledge, package it, create product and solution, and offer into concrete industry or construction industry, or more specifically concrete industry, which is a big industry by itself, and to see whether we can revolutionize or transfer this industry, right, significantly, right? So that was the idea. And the frustrating part was for us was, as a civil engineering again, that industry has been very slow to adopt, right? It's been behind, right? So we call it sometimes, we are civil engineering. I can say that old school kind of industry, because things are not
Very, very
happening.
traditional. Yeah.
Very traditional and very slow. And that was the moment I said, okay, let's see whether we can basically at least impact in this industry significantly, right? So that's how it started.
Yeah, so you set out to disrupt the industry. I mean, you saw an old school club, and you had your own thoughts on what could be done better, and you just kind of went out there and took the stab.
Exactly. That was the idea, right, behind the Giatec, right? So yeah, 12 years
And
ago.
how have you felt that your product has transformed this industry from that day to today? Like, what is different? What sets this apart from how it used to be done?
Yeah, yeah. Let me maybe, yeah, like all the first 5 years, right? The first 5 years, from 2010 to 15, right? It was more trying to find a product market fit, right? So we tried different things. We failed on different products. Not 100% failure, but it was not
Hmm.
100% successful to pick up and see that, okay, truly we see that we are impacting significant industry as a whole at this scale. So the first 5 years just learning, try or error kind of methodology, right? So to learn and also get more business acumen, right? So to see how we can basically develop the product solution that is great technically, but at the same time is a great product, to scale up the business, right?
Right.
It's not
Hmm.
only technically viable, but also commercially and business viable product, so that you can build a big organization around, right? So it was 2015 that we basically had a pivot, right? So getting to the wireless sensor technology, right? Concrete sensor technology. So
Hmm.
basically, we developed the first generation of the sensor 2015, and from that we were 10 people at that point. And since then, we have been seeing that, like not only on the revenue side, the number of the sensor we are selling, expansion, international expansion, we started seeing significant traction 2015 from that time. And now we just released 2 weeks ago the fourth generation of that sensor, kind of very basically innovative, especially the fourth one, right? It's one of the kind, and we believe that that would set us, aside from the rest of the competition for more than 5 years. But generally, this, yeah, speaking, the moment that we felt that we are impacting when we got to, yeah, over 10,000 users basically bases, more than 10,000 construction projects, right, internationally, like 80 countries basically started, picking up the sensor, use the sensor ongoing basis, and seeing the big name, right, top 400 the general contractors in North America, 80% of them, start adopting our technology. And
Oh wow.
even 2015, we didn't have too many competition, maybe one or two. Right now, basically, we have 30 competition competing with us, and we feel that we have a market, like a market leadership, right? So we have a product leadership in the market, and yeah, those are lots of signs that are telling us, the significant impact, and also we create a momentum, right, in the concrete sensor in this or concrete sensor market segment, so that this becomes a thing even by itself, right? There are lots of other companies trying to develop different types of concrete sensor for different application use cases. So yeah, it seems that the whole industry awareness is significantly higher compared to 7 years ago, 2015, right? That's a kind of indication. I feel that we have started seeing some impact, right? So the industry, start moving
Hmm.
toward the adoption of the technology, right? That's an exciting moment for us.
Absolutely. And Fuad, this comes up a lot when we talk to clients. It's the entire where if your product is not something that has a lot of competition, you're building awareness for it. So it's cool to see a company that not only is at the top of their field, but almost built the field.
Yeah, exactly what happened. And also, honestly, at the moment, you touch on the right point. Just remember, yeah, just on the awareness, right? So we are at the point that, like, we are basically our biggest competition is the status quo, right? So we are basically
Mm.
displacing the existing methodology that's been around for 200 years, like with the concrete sensor, right? Used to be or is still the case, 80% of our market still they are using break sample, right? It's taking the sample cylinders or cube, send it to the lab, break it to get the strength of the concrete. Whereas with our concrete sensors and the mobile app in the real time, right, non-destructive, they can see the curing or strength development of the concrete, right? Just, yeah, that's kind of, the biggest fight right now we have is changing the status quo, right? Changing the mindset of the people, right? Using the technology is not that much competition with the 30 other basically players in the market, right? Which is interesting, but at the same time is tough, right? Because you don't have existing market. You need to build your own market, right? In a way. Yeah. Good point.
Yeah. Yeah, well, part of that comes from our own struggles with trying to build out a market, because we've created an AI application ourselves, and we find that unless you're a very specific type of executive or director, you understand parts of it, but you don't understand all of it, and you're like, why don't I do it the old way? So it's interesting to see another company that has been through this and succeeded. So I mean, for me, that's inspiring. Um,
Thank you.
Fuad, I don't know if you want to add anything to that.
A little bit. I think re-emphasizing what Dr. Gertz said, the continuous experimentation and always be open to pivoting as technologies are also emerging, and it's staying up to date and staying at the front of everything. Um, I
Did
think
did you go ahead, Fuad? Sorry.
I think continuous experimenting and finding the right market product fit. And that also changes from yesterday to today. So what could be successful yesterday, that may need to be modified for tomorrow. And being able to uh, carve yourself early enough is really the key. And I think Dr. Gertz has done that very much. Um,
What I'm interested to hear is, did you find it easy to make that decision to pivot, or was this something that was lots of sleepless nights?
Coffees.
The first one, actually, yeah. So we are going through another pivot, actually. The first one was relatively easy, 2015, because the organization, we only had 10 people, right?
Mhm.
But when you get to the point that, for example, at the moment we have 120 employees, right? And we are pivoting for another bigger opportunity, especially like in the AI area, that we develop a smart mix platform, which is based on the AI algorithm that we built over the past 5 years. And nowadays, I feel that it's more difficult. And still, yeah, when we have 120 people just focusing on a product which is growing right by itself, right? So growth
Mhm.
20%, 30%, 40% year over year in terms of the revenue. But and at the same time, you have, because of your learning, your basically the market opportunity, especially in our segment, right? So GHG emission is a big problem, right, in concrete industry, right? Also, concrete's been a great material for human being over the years, but
Mm.
unfortunately, right, the impact of the negative impact of this material, right, the second materials, consumer materials after water on the planet, is
Yep.
significant. It's 8% GHG emission. And because of that market opportunity, as Watt mentioned, right? So we started pivoting, another pivot for much bigger, more SaaS software solution, less, hardware, and trying to address a big problem, or creating or having a big impact, which is making a concrete not only better better material, like higher quality, but also reduce significantly 20% of its carbon footprint
Wow.
on the planet, right? So, but short answer, going back to your point, this pivot that we are going through is much more painful than the first one. Because yeah, when the ship is bigger, right, steering the ship, right, requires lots of effort. Whereas when you have a boat, you have more flexibility, right? So to do the maneuver, right? So here or there, that's kind of, again, it depends on where you're at, right? So but yeah, the bigger you get, it's more difficult gonna be, right? So that's a short answer, but it still is possible and it's worth it. I would say that it's worth it, right? So because if you are not open to pivot or take advantage of market opportunity or window of opportunity, perhaps you are limiting yourself, right? You're basically the potential that you have, your team has, right? Kind of, you become your limiting factor, that you are not willing to consider bigger opportunity. But it should be very mindful and thoughtful, right? So it's not going
Absolutely.
to happen over the night, right? So you need to put lots of planning. Communication is key, right, for the employees to understand that they don't get distracted, right? So they don't see that this is a shiny object kind of things, right? They go after a shiny object to keep the balance and the flow of the company. But it requires just planning, communication, working through different team, and there are different structure you can put in place, right, for any stage that you would like to basically do a pivot, right? Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think this is a very noble endeavor as well, because I mean the environment is a very timely, very important consideration, and I think a lot of industry that comes secondary. So to kind of combine your technologies for that end is absolutely amazing. So that's going to be we'll be following that one closely, because Fawad and I, while we're in AI marketing kind of sector right now, eventually we kind of want to move to some of those environmental techs and agriculture techs as well. So it's cool to see the big boys kind of even saying, all right, this is what we do now.
Awesome. Yeah, that definitely is a good opportunity and interesting area, right, to get into, especially solving this problem, which is environmental problem with technology, right? That's a cool thing,
Hmm.
right? So how to basically marry, like combine those two, right? Big problem, great technology, right, to solve, to bring a solution to this human being. Well, honestly, it's a planet problem, right? It's not a small
Hmm.
problem. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So we've talked a little bit about pivoting. We've talked about, your history. So, looking back at it all, is there anything you've learned at this point that would have led you to do things differently to get here? Or do you have any advice for someone who's at the beginning of their entrepreneurial journey rather
Yeah.
than, midway or near the penultimate goal?
Yeah. No, for sure. No, we did lots of mistakes, right? So that's something that is not avoidable. You can minimize it, maybe learning from other people's experience, but definitely we made lots of mistakes. We're still doing the mistakes, right? So that, failure here or there. As far as we can come back, right? So don't completely uh, get to basically really problem or bankruptcy situation doing the mistake, manageable kind of mistake failure, right? Is absolutely fine, right? But if you want, I want to touch on mistakes one biggest mistake we made, right? Maybe early on. That would be the same thing, perhaps, or similar thing I already touched on, right? So we basically, we would spend, if we're going to go back, we would spend perhaps more time to find the product market fit than starting and scaling the company, right? Quite often, what I see that with the startups, especially these days, is more visible or more pronounced for me. They start scaling or fundraising quite fast without understanding or without being confident that they have a product market fit, right? And having the product market fit is, I guess, is key and is more important, right, than like other components or other criterias or parameters you need to have to make a company successful, or make organization or scale up the organization. And quite often I see people look at it the other way around, right? So including ourselves, right? So the first 5 years I mentioned that we would have, perhaps if I was going to go back, we're going to go back to 2010, I would have spent more time just to make sure that we get to the product solution that is the market fit, right? So and the definition is very broad, right? Product market fit, you need to have a big TAM, right? So that you are addressing pain, not is a must to have, not nice to have, right? There are 20, 30 criteria
Hmm.
actually right now is visible for me. So we need to make sure all the checkboxes are there, and then you can say, oh, let me go and scale it, do fundraising, bring investors, like put together like a big organization, and maybe then start hiring higher, because you see that, right? So you're on the path, you are on something, and that would be perhaps number one, if I call it advice, right? So, but again, just yeah, that I would suggest people or recommend people to consider it a little bit more carefully and just spend more time before they start moving fast, right? So to make sure that they got it, and then the rest, I guess, is just much easier and less risky, right? So to do it other way around, right? So yeah, that would be
Absolutely.
the number one, maybe. Yeah.
That totally resonates. Yeah.
You're feeling that in your soul, right, Fawad?
Yes. Yes. You saw my face, how close I was to the camera listening. Yes.
Awesome.
It's interesting because there's a big push from advisories and insiders that they want you to get this investment quick, get the idea out, minimum viable product. But yeah, the advice you get early on is act quick, but the advice you get from anyone that's done it is take the time and find the right fit and don't rush to the end. Like it's not a race necessarily. Even if someone comes out with a similar product to you, it's not the end of the story.
Absolutely.
Let them spearhead the initiative, and then
Yeah.
learn from their mistakes.
No, for sure, right? So market leaders or product leadership or market leadership is not necessary to be a first one, right, in the market. Quite often, being second one is more advantageous, right? So that you avoid some of the mistakes they make, or they kind of a little bit paving the road for the second one. And it is important to, when you go to market, right? So you have the best product, premium product, the best feature, like 10 times better than the previous one, right? So that's may make it successful than being to the market, not the great product, expose everything, IP, right, all the solution, and then and not be able to basically build quickly on that, right? So it's better just to build on the radar when you are basically going to market. Again, I'm not saying that not working with the beta customers, alpha, internal
Of course.
testing, right? When you see that I'm ready to go to the market, you need to perhaps very confident that you can take the position, right, or maintain the position, leadership position in the market, right? Because yeah, being leader in the market is very, very important for a big success.
Absolutely. All right, Fuad. I think our last couple of questions were answered in this little piece. So, is there anything else you'd like to ask Dr. Godes on behalf of our audience?
Dr. Goetz already touched on that, but maybe a little bit of elaboration on the vision of Giatec's next um, in the predictive era. What's happening at Giatec that we should look forward to?
So yeah, so basically over the next 3 5 years, as I kind of alluded to, we are working on the platform for concrete mix optimization, the recipe optimization of the concrete. Not only make sure that the quality is a big problem, right, in the industry.
Right.
So not only the quality is becomes better, right, so which translate to the quality of infrastructure, right? So all the infrastructure we rely on daily basis, right? Bridges, hospitals, schools, you name it, right? Like a wastewater system, like everything perhaps day to day basically interacting mainly is be built on based on concrete, right? Majority of them are are based or the foundation of those are is from concrete. And yeah, with just optimization of the concrete recipe, not only improving the quality would have significant impact on the infrastructure long-term longevity, but also as I mentioned, right, previously, we are trying to reduce at the same time the dosage of the cement, actually, like, which is a
Right.
powder, right? That gray powder going to the concrete, and as a result, that would be a significant 20% basically reduction on the carbon footprint of the concrete material. So next 3 5 years, we are focusing on that technology, which is a combination of IoT, AI, artificial intelligence, and also a software solution that like we started working 2019, right? So 3 years in, we have 2 more years basically to bring it full speed to the market. And so if we can, yeah, maybe with that product, if we can significantly impact this industry, right? So that perhaps would be a time that we can say that we left a legacy. And we hope, right, at the end of the day, right? So or at any time we exit, we leave this planet, or we can say that we left this planet, right? So better place for next generation, right? That's kind of our purpose for at Giatec, right? So the question I guess you asked, right? So what would be
Thank you.
perhaps the end game? When we see that we created significant impact, right, so on the at the scale basically on the planet, that would be a time that we can say that, yeah, okay, we have done enough, and yeah, for now we achieve our purpose at Giatec, at least in this chapter, right, in this book.
That's amazing. Well, Dr. Gertz, I thank you again for your time. One other thing I wanted to emphasize or kind of uh, give our audience a brief the importance of product market fit and to be thorough with that phase. And that would actually strengthen your future sustainability um, from every angle, from funding, from competitive angle, as well as the future of your vision would be well founded.
Yeah,
So thank you
definitely.
so much, Dr. Goetz, for sharing such valuable advice with us.
No, my pleasure, Fuad. Yeah. So the last thing maybe I can add, right? So the entrepreneurship is hard, right? It's a hard thing to do, hard thing. And there's a famous book on that. But I believe that, right? So for your audience, right? So if they are passionate, right? So passionate what they are doing, right? So they're very passionate. They have a hard high work ethics or hard working basically character, and also yeah they practice high level of integrity, and they add a little bit a spice of creativity, right? So creativity like here or there, so they know anything they're going to do, just try to see whether we can do it differently, right? So they look at it from
Mm-hmm.
different angle, right? So I guess having those 3 to 4 basically components into their uh, plan, right? So passion, integrity, hardworking, and creativity, and also the purpose, right? So why as a purpose, right? From the beginning to the exit, right? What is the purpose of doing that, right? So have a relatable purpose for themselves, for the founders, and also the team. I would not see anything can withhold them, right? So to basically stop them, right, from the success, being successful in entrepreneurship, scaling the company, right? So yeah, these are my few basically 2 cents I just wanted to share at the end. Yeah.
Perfect. Well, there you have it, everybody. That is the advice of one of the giants of Silicon Valley North. We look forward to everything that Giatec's going to be doing in the future, and we'll be following it very closely. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Dr. Goetz.
Likewise. Thank you. Have a wonderful day. Take care.